Remove your gang colors or you'll never hold her. The words struck like a blade. I froze in the hallway, staring through the glass doors of the NICU. Inside, rows of incubators glowed under fluorescent light, and in one of them, my daughter, Grace Walker, barely clinging to life. I was Daniel Dan Walker, 43 years old, a combat medic turned biker. I had ridden 3 hours through a storm to get here. My wife Laura was still unconscious after emergency surgery, and now, when every second mattered, a woman in a gray blazer and pencil skirt stood between me and my child. Her badge read, Evelyn Carter, Hospital Administrator. Her lips pressed thin, her voice cold. No one enters the NICU wearing a gang vest. This is a children's hospital, not a biker bar. The air thickened. My heart hammered against my ribs. My daughter could die without ever feeling her father's touch, and I was being treated like a criminal. Grace came into the world too soon, 26 weeks. She weighed only 2 pounds 3 ounces. Her skin was translucent, her lungs too weak to work without machines. The doctors said 50-50. Laura and I had prayed for this child. After 3 miscarriages and draining our savings on IVF, Grace was our last chance, our miracle. And now she was struggling to survive. I hadn't changed clothes. I was still in my black leather vest, the same one I'd worn on rides for 6 years with the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Club. To Evelyn Carter, it was gang colors. But to me, every patch told my story. Combat medic from Afghanistan. Purple Heart for shrapnel wounds. Bronze Star for pulling men from burning wreckage. The American flag. POWIA. Combat Veterans MC. Every stitch was sacrifice. Every patch was blood. Yet, to Carter, they were just gang symbols. The phone had rung at 2 in the morning. Mr. Walker, your wife is in surgery. The baby's coming. You need to get here now. Terror seized me. Laura wasn't due for another 14 weeks. Everything had seemed normal until suddenly it wasn't. I threw on my gear, jumped on my Harley, and tore down the highway. Rain lashed my face. Wind howled, but I didn't ease the throttle. For 3 hours, I rode faster than was safe, faster than was sane. I didn't think about tickets or crashes. I thought only of one thing. Grace must live. At 5 in the morning, I stumbled into the hospital, dripping wet, lungs burning. NICU, 3rd floor, the nurse said. Your daughter's alive. That's all I know. Alive. That word was the only thing keeping me upright. I bolted up the stairwell, 2 steps at a time, boots slamming the concrete. My chest pounded harder than it ever had under fire. At the NICU, the keypad blinked red. A nurse inside saw me and started to buzz me in. That's when Evelyn Carter appeared, heels clicking like gunshots. "Excuse me," she said, raising her clipboard. "You can't go in there dressed like that." I looked down at my vest. Rain-soaked leather, patches gleaming under hospital lights. Combat medic, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, American flag, POWMIA, Veterans MC. Every patch carried a memory, a life, a sacrifice. But Carter didn't see it. She only saw her policy. This is gang attire, no exceptions. My daughter was born 3 hours ago, I pleaded. She's in there. She's dying. Her eyes narrowed. Remove the vest or leave. I pressed my palms against the glass. Inside, I saw Grace. So small, chest rising and falling with mechanical effort. Wires and tubes everywhere. My baby girl. So close, yet out of reach. My phone buzzed. Laura's voice, weak from surgery. Dan, they won't tell me anything. Where's Grace? Have you seen her? My throat locked. How could I tell her I wasn't allowed in? I forced out. I'm here. I'm trying. Don't worry. I'll be with her soon. But I wasn't. Not yet. I slid down the wall, sitting on the cold tile floor. 3 hours of adrenaline drained away, leaving only exhaustion, fury, and despair. I was a father, a veteran, a biker. Yet at that moment, I was just a man begging to hold his child before she slipped away. I couldn't sit there any longer. Rage and helplessness surged in my chest. I pulled out my phone and dialed the only man I trusted in moments like this. Frank, it's Dan. I need you, now. Bring everyone, Frank, Iron Frank Mitchell. 68 years old, Vietnam vet, elder brother of our club. He didn't ask why. I'm on my way. Hold strong, brother, Evelyn Carter overheard and smirked. Calling your gang? I'll have security ready. I looked her dead in the eye. Not a gang. Brothers. Men who bled for this country. And today, they'll stand with me for my daughter. 40 minutes later, the sound of boots echoed through the hospital. Frank arrived first, tall, lean, white beard flowing, his vest covered in Vietnam War patches. Behind him came Tommy, Desert Storm vet, his prosthetic leg clanking softly on the floor. Then, Big Mike, built like a wall, his vest nearly hidden beneath ribbons and medals from Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. By 7 a.m., 12 veterans stood shoulder to shoulder in that hallway. 12 leather vests. 12 lifetimes of sacrifice. The air grew heavy with silence, with power. Even the security guards shifted uneasily. This wasn't a gang. This was a brotherhood forged in fire, now standing guard in a hospital hallway. Evelyn Carter marched back with 3 guards. Gentlemen, you need to leave. This is not a biker rally. Frank's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of war. Dan's daughter was born at 26 weeks. She may not survive. And you're stopping a father because of patches? Policy is policy. No gang colors, Carter snapped. Then another voice cut through, sharp and commanding. That policy was written to keep criminals out, not men who once saved my life. It was Dr. Richard Morrison, head of cardiology. He looked straight at Carter, then nodded toward Big Mike. In 2011, Afghanistan, I was ambushed. Mike carried me 2 miles under fire. I lived because of him, and that man, Dan Walker, saved 17 soldiers as a combat medic. You dare call them gang members? Color drained from Carter's face. Still, she stammered. The policy clearly. The NICU door opened. Dr. Walsh stepped out, her face grim. Dan, Grace's oxygen is dropping fast. We may have to intubate. If you want to touch her before that, it has to be now. I turned to Carter. My voice was low, steady. You can call security. You can call the police. Hell, You can call the National Guard, but I'm going in. My daughter needs her father. I walked past her, vest still on my shoulders. Inside, Grace lay impossibly small in the incubator, skin translucent, chest rising and falling with mechanical effort. Wires and tubes surrounded her. I reached through the port of the incubator, my hand trembling. I touched her tiny hand with my pinky, and Grace gripped me. Her entire hand, no bigger than a matchstick, wrapped around my finger. She held on like her life depended on it. Tears blurred my vision. That's the first time she's responded to touch, the nurse whispered, voice breaking. She knows her daddy. I never left Grace's side for 87 days, and my brothers never left that hallway. Frank brought her a tiny teddy bear in a leather vest. Tommy played guitar, soft notes drifting through the ward. Big Mike organized a fundraiser for NICU families who couldn't afford hotels. Day 62. Grace pulled out her own breathing tube. Doctors called it a miracle. I called it Walker's stubbornness. Day 75. Laura held her for the first time without wires. Day 87. We carried Grace home. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. 15 motorcycles rumbled behind us, engines soft. The slowest ride we'd ever taken, but the most important. 18 months later, Grace thrived, crawling, laughing, tugging at my vest. That's when the hospital announced a new policy, Emma's rule. From now on, veteran patches and military club colors would never again be mistaken for gangs. Today, Grace loves to trace the patches with her tiny fingers, pointing at the flag, giggling at the skulls, trying to chew on the bronze star. One day I'll tell her what each patch means. But first I'll tell her about the day she held my finger. 2 pounds of baby strength holding on to 200 pounds of biker. Both of us fighting. Neither of us letting go. Because that day proved what every patch already said. We don't leave anyone behind. Not in Afghanistan. Not in a NICU hallway. Not ever.